Welcome to our channel. If you are looking for something unusual and exciting, then you have come to the right place. Subscribe and don't miss the most creepy and intriguing stories that will make you tremble with fear and keep your eyes open until the last minute. Today we have a special issue. A story that begins, seemingly, like an ordinary day, but quickly turns into a nightmare. Will not let you go for a long time. Imagine that you are standing at a bus stop and suddenly discover that you have become invisible. Everyone around you does not notice you, and your own existence has become intangible. What will you do in such a situation? I was standing at the bus stop and waiting for my bus. An elderly woman was passing by me. She slipped and fell. A man rushed to her aid, and I just looked away. Oh, these old ladies, they can barely move. It would be better if they stayed at home in this weather. My favorite music was playing in my headphones, and my new boss was on my mind. A cocky brute who managed to fire half of the staff immediately after his arrival. I also found myself in danger of being fired because of a mistake in the reports. I messed up the folders incorrectly. Now here's another mistake, and I'll have to look for a new job. Lost in gloomy thoughts, I flinched when someone gently touched my elbow. Turning around, I saw the same old woman standing next to me and staring at me intently. I reluctantly took out the earphone. "I'm sorry," she began. "My wallet was stolen. Could you help me? There's not enough money to get home, but it's a long way to go, and my leg hurts after a fall." Hesitantly, I put my hand in my pocket, turning over the coins. I have enough money for travel, but only right next to it. I took all the change out of the bag myself in advance, leaving only $20. There was $100 in my wallet, and I didn't want to change it. They'll hand it over later in small things. Go, rattle. And I could get home on foot, just a couple of stops, but a walk through the ice was also not pleasant. "I'm sorry, but I don't have any money," I said. The old woman hunched her head into her shoulders as if afraid of my answer and walked away. She took a few steps back, then turned around and looked at me again. "Empathy for others is important," she said. "Don't forget that we are all human beings. It's every man for himself these days." I snapped and turned away. Well, came a sad sigh from behind. When my bus pulled up, I immediately climbed inside. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I felt a sense of guilt, but I quickly pushed it away, thinking that you can't help everyone, and it's not sweet for me anyway. When I got home, I ate and fell asleep. My husband was on vacation, and he and his daughter went to visit their grandmother in the village. So no one bothered me. When I woke up, I found myself at that very bus stop. I was wearing a t-shirt and shorts, the same thing I went to bed in, but I didn't feel cold. Looking around, I noticed that people were completely ignoring me. Shivering in the wind, they stood waiting for transport. It was already getting dark, and the lantern next to the bus stop blinded my eyes with a bright light. I sat down on a bench and put my bare feet on the snow. Cold was not felt. It was like I was standing on some kind of rubbery, slightly springy surface. My heart was pounding in my chest. No, this is some kind of stupid dream. This can't be happening. She timidly touched the man standing next to her. The hand seemed to touch elastic rubber again. "I'm sorry," I began, but the man didn't even turn his head in my direction. "Please help me," I shouted louder. No reaction. Fear clutched at his heart like a prickly paw, and his breath caught in his throat. "Please," I shouted again and pushed the man harder in the shoulder. No one is even looking at me. I was rushing around the bus stop trying to get to these people. She screamed, tugged at her clothes. "You are welcome. Somebody help me, I'm here." Tears blurred my eyes and I was shaking with horror. I looked into their indifferent faces, grabbed their hands, and I felt soft, springy rubber everywhere. Soon my bus arrived. People poured through the open door. I rushed inside too. I'll get home. I didn't know why. But I couldn't stay at the bus stop anymore. I felt people stepping on my bare feet. There was no pain. Still no one noticed me. Jumping out of the bus, I ran to the entrance. She knocked on all the doors, shouted, but there was no sound. His hands bounced off as if from a rubber tire. In tears, I sat down under the door of my apartment. She cried hard, smearing tears on her face. She whispered to herself, begging for help, breaking into a scream. She was hysterical, but no one came to help. It's been a few years now. I live in someone else's family. I can't bear to see my husband and daughter searching for and mourning me. Like my daughter, locked in her room, stroking my photo and asking me to come back. Like my mother, dropping tears on the pillow, whispers my name every night. It's like my heart is being ripped out of my chest and torn apart. I've been looking for the woman I met at the bus stop for a long time. I was tormented by the question, if I had helped her then, would all this not have happened? Is it really because of some pathetic coins that I regretted then? God, I would give anything to go home now. If only everything would be the same as before. I waited at this stop for days in the hope of finding that woman. I searched all over the area, but everything was unsuccessful. I've been looking for the woman I met at the bus stop for a long time. I was tormented by the question, if I had helped her then, would all this not have happened? Is it really because of some pathetic coins that I regretted then? God, I would give anything to go home now. If only everything would be the same as before. I waited at this stop for days in the hope of finding that woman. I searched all over the area, but everything was unsuccessful. Now, in my new home, I've learned how to move small objects. Keys, for example, or a lighter. It's funny to watch the owners looking for these things and getting angry. I can open the doors myself if they're not locked. The owner's 5-year-old son, Jake, seems to sense me. When I tell him bedtime stories, he calms down and falls asleep. I kiss him goodnight, and he smiles at my touch. I recently visited my family. My daughter already calls another woman mom. Her husband seems happy with her. I don't blame him. I'm glad they're doing well, but there's no more room for me there. Come to the local baby house more and more often. Older children do not see me. They feel my touch and respond with a timid smile. I whisper good fairy tales in their ears. Babysitters are surprised when babies suddenly freeze, staring into the void, and then start laughing loudly. After all, the younger the children, the more real I am to them. I think I'll stay here. Maybe someone will need me here?